Welcome to the Housing Digital Social, our first social as Housing Digital. I want to introduce Sasha Deepwell, the Chief Executive of Irwell Valley Homes again.
Thank you. So basically, Irwell Valley, like some of you I know, started this journey way before COVID, and really our drivers to move to being a fully agile and, I should say, flexible working organisation were that we wanted to tackle the problems associated with the commute in and out of Salford. We're based in Salford, well, very close to the heart of Manchester, and not the easiest place to get in and out of unless you use public transport. We're based on a tram line, which is great, but not so great at the moment. But what we realised is if we were going to attract and retain the best people that we could for our organisation, we wanted to make work for them and be the best way that they could work. So getting rid of unnecessary travel like commuting was both good for the environment and good for people's mental well-being. So that was one driver, but another driver for us going to a sort of completely agile way of working was that a lot of our colleagues, as I'm sure a lot of yours, have got caring responsibilities, and also massively commit to work. We're in an amazing sector for that. People really care about their colleagues, really care about customers, but if we could empower them to trust them to work in a way that suited them, but also work the hours that suited them, we felt we would get the best out of colleagues and create a culture based on trust. So that's where we started, was how do we move from a culture based on monitoring, based on measuring, to one where we gave power to colleagues to work in the way that best suited them. And working from that bottom up, we set up a working group of colleagues, some of whom came from our colleague forum, others were just really interested in redesigning how we work. They really looked at what mattered to customers and what mattered to colleagues, and decided that we really needed to focus on outcomes rather than processes. And we needed to remove things that stopped us being effective, like unnecessary travel, like technology that didn't work, like systems that were slow. So a massive range of projects were generated by this overarching vision, which was how we work, the way we work. So we decided to put everything in the cloud, to go as digital as we possibly could, to improve our systems as best we could and reduce the number of them, bring them together as much as possible, and to just trust colleagues to do the right thing, to make the right decisions, to choose their own hours. So they were some of the drivers that we felt would reduce our costs, reduce our carbon footprint, and just improve our productivity, because colleagues could be the best they could be at work. Next slide, please. So we decided to start with our values and our behaviours. We'd already done a lot of work on the sort of 4 key behaviours with colleagues that they felt embodied the Irwell Valley values. A lot of these will be really familiar to all of you. So we wanted people to feel proud to work for the organisation, to make a difference for customers, to be constantly learning, growing, developing, being able to sort of think all the time about how they could improve what they do and have easy ways to do that. So they were some of our behaviours that linked to our values. And also we wanted colleagues to feel that they could take responsibility for what they did end to end. It's a bit of a lean systems approach as well. So we pulled all that together and we did a massive piece of work with customers to co-design services, and also with colleagues to match that to the way we work, and decided that we wanted to not only improve our technology, but improve how we managed people. That was the hard bit. Technology is not easy. There's a million glitches and issues in putting technology in place, but the really hard bit is how can we change the hearts and minds of people who've been in a maybe more traditional management role, and what is the new form of management that we need then to put in place. So there was a lot of focus on managing by coaching, supporting, challenging, empowering. And that's a very difficult journey. We haven't solved it yet. We're still on that journey, but we're doing a lot of investment into management development to get that done. Next slide, please. I'm trying to go as quickly as I can with this. Um, what you're seeing is images of our collaborative office that we set up. It's totally flexible. All the furniture moves. Um, we've only got 3 meeting rooms, small, medium, and large. It's like 3 bears. But even within those, that big room you can see at the back, all the doors open, and it can be a massive space, or it can be a boardroom type space. But everything moves, everything's flexible. And basically, what colleagues came up with was that they wanted the office. To be a place that would suit the different tasks that you did rather than a traditional office. And the focus was very much on collaboration. But one of the things that we learned during the pandemic is really an office is also a safe space for colleagues. And we've managed to have our office COVID secure now. Doesn't look as nice as it looked, unfortunately, because we've had to zone everything and put much bigger distance between furniture. But it is a place that we've managed to keep open for those who feel that it's a safe place for them, but also on a more positive note for those who still want to collaborate face to face, which I think is really important because we're all getting Zoom fatigue. Could you put the next slide on, please? So a lot of things changed for us in the pandemic, as like Steve's organisation, because we were already digital and agile, and we had all that new ways of managing in place. We were able to focus immediately on customers. However, I have found that it was quite strange before the pandemic, because we were still going to lots of face-to-face meetings with other organisations, even though we were having less within our own organisation. It was kind of a matter of choice about whether you were virtual or in person. And obviously, the pandemic has forced us all to become far more digital. And I think we need a balance of, and we're trying to work out what works best online, what conversations are better face to face, and how we can still do those. Other things we learned in the pandemic was that it was an opportunity for a lot of talents to come to the fore. And a few of you have talked about your community effort and things that you've done. And for us, that's been absolutely huge. We were involved in a greenhouse project called the Good Food Bag, which is like a sort of social version of HelloFresh, and basically that's going absolutely amazingly, and we've actually been able to launch it, and it's now working, and we did a partnership with Jigsaw actually about this, which was great, and now we're partnering with One Manchester, and we're also running our first sort of iteration of the Good Food Bag as a kind of semi-commercial but very low cost fresh food delivery for customers in some of our most deprived communities. It's an amazing project. So things like that have blossomed, which we're really excited about. The last point on this slide, I just want to pause on the value of non-work conversations, because as we've all gone digital, like you're doing here with this amazing social, we've done masses of encouragement, and we keep having to say it to managers, to senior managers. Look, just check in with your colleagues, just have a little chat, have an informal team meeting, have a brew. And at first, people were brilliant at this when we were in lockdown, and then it sort of all eased off again. And now we're having to remind people. As John mentioned before, our health and safety manager, we've got a massive focus on well-being at the moment and supporting people with mental health issues. But you've got people at the sharp end, but also you've got a general sense of fatigue, and is this really going on forever? And a need for resilience. So just having those chats and those check-ins has been really important for us. Could we move on? So my final slide is these are sort of, I think, the main things that if you're going to, I think a lot of people went really quickly, obviously due to the pandemic, into all this sort of digital online world. We'd spent 18 months before we went digital, which was a year before COVID, working out some of the glitches and issues and different way of working that we might need to do. And we've still not got it right. We're still learning. And one of our big lessons was about making sure this is done with engagement. And that will have been skipped over because everyone's just had to do this. Now, that's had some advantages in terms of people just having to get used to working in this new way in technology. But I don't think you can shortcut that engagement now. And it's really important to listen to people. And to sort of go back over, right, okay, let's review now. What's working? What isn't? What do we still need to change? For us, it has been a blessing, and a massive blessing. I'm not going to underplay it, that we were already in that situation when we went into lockdown. It totally meant we could focus on customers, but it also meant we could focus on colleagues. And we've used the platform to do all kinds of sessions with people around mental health, around resilience. And we're now moving into other aspects around how you communicate effectively, how to have a positive impact when you're only, talking to people online or over the phone. So that's my final slide, really, and my final message. I think being kind is really important. I think a lot of us are really, really focusing on social purpose at the moment, which is one of the amazing things that has come out of the pandemic. And we will need to keep doing that with the troubled times we're going into. So that was my whistle stop. Yeah.
Thank you, Sasha. That was brilliant. Right, we've got a bit of time for some Q&A for Sasha. Have you got any questions for Sasha?
I had a question, Sasha. That was a really good presentation, such a positive presentation as well. One of the things that we found was this non-work chat issue coming up. We were forced is a bit of a harsh word, but we had socials every week on Zoom and stuff, and we were playing games and stuff, and then that just quickly died down. And I was just wondering. In fact, on Friday we've got a Cluedo night, a virtual Cluedo night. I'm not quite sure how it's going to work out, but have you found anything in particular that works when it comes to sort of socials and non-work kind of chat? Are there any best practices that people have found useful? Because we're struggling for ideas, basically.
Yeah. I think give up on the ideas now. People are fed up with them. What we're finding is just a check-in, i.e., let's just have a cup of coffee, cup of tea, or pint, whatever you want, however you want to do it, glass of wine, whatever you want to do. And just checking in with people, just asking people how they are. But in order to do that, you've got to develop rapport, and to develop rapport, you need to show vulnerability. So I do little videos and things, but I also check in personally with people. And in my recent video, I was like, oh, when Boris said 6 months, I actually had a little cry. And I put that in, because I think it's just really important to sort of just be human and just have a human conversation. Forget all the gimmicks now. People are fed up with them.
Yeah.
It's just, but we are having, and I've got we've all got introverted managers and leaders who find this really difficult. And, I've kind of said, look, just have a go. Please try it. You might be surprised. And then the feedback that I've got from some of those high introverts has been, do you know what? They said they really appreciated that little conversation, even though all I did was say, how are you? And said a bit how I'm coping. And so it's simple. Please, just keep it simple, and people do appreciate it.
Yeah, no, thank you. Thanks for that, Sasha.
Have we got any more questions for Sasha?
Yeah, I would like to ask a question. Hi, Sasha. I just wanted to ask whether, just listening to you talk, whether you think that the pandemic has allowed housing associations, not just housing associations, everybody to be a bit more open about different ways of working, different models for people from deprived areas.
Yeah, that's a great question, Selena. One of the feedbacks that we've had on a group that I'm involved in, which is looking at the well-being of future generations, Charlie Norman from MSV is sort of taking the lead on that with Nick Kershaw from One Manchester. And that group, we're really concerned about the impact of the pandemic on young people and their choices going forward. And it's a group that has got engagement with young people involved in the sort of meetings, and the feedback that we've had is the thing about these digital meetings is it's a bit of a leveler, and you know, if they're run properly and they're chaired and you go round and you sort of ask different people their opinions, we've had feedback from the young people that, oh, this is great, you know, we'd feel really intimidated turning up to a meeting in person, but you know, these, and they're better at this stuff, they're more familiar than, you know, my age group. So you know, it's been really good as a better way of engaging. So I do think there's some positives there, Selena.
Can I come in and ask a question? Yeah.
Yeah.
I was looking for the raise your hand and couldn't find it, so I'll do it like that. But it sounds like we're on a very similar journey to yourself, Sasha. And one thing that we've realised is that when you give people the freedom to work without rules in terms of timings and hours, etc., then it's the management style that becomes the issue. So we're just looking at options for rolling out coaching management styles. And I wondered whether you'd worked with any third parties to provide that management training that had worked out well for you. And if so, maybe we could connect afterwards, or you could share some experiences here.
Absolutely. Very happy to do that, Steve. We worked with a company called Innovision, a woman called Alison Curtis, who is absolutely amazing. Her background was with John Lewis, you know, that sort of kind of company, which and I think she's worked with lots of other people, BBC, all sorts of people. But what was good with the program that we designed with her is it's very kind of tailored to the challenges that we've got, and it's very, I don't know, it's psychology based, you know. It's really but goes deep. It's quite challenging, and I think you kind of need that sort of quite challenging management development program if you're going to get anywhere with this. And it's backed up with sort of coaching. It's built into people's you know, PDRs. It's kind of, we measure people 50% on their behavior and 50% on their achievements, performance. And it, for managers, behavior and how they demonstrate the culture is really big for us. It's a big challenge. We're working through it. We've run 2 programs now with Alison. We're doing other bits as well. It's not just that program. I think you need a variety of stuff, and different trainers and different styles work better with different people. But yeah, really happy to share more about that, Steve. And I'd love to hear about where you're up to as well, because as you say, sounds like we're on a similar trajectory.